Hey everyone, welcome back to the final piece of the train. We are going to be making the train track. Now there is one typo in this file. They are specifying that this dimension here is 3.65, but that's not actually possible if the entire width of the track is 3.4. So they actually meant 2.65. They typed it in wrong, and I just scratched out and wrote the 2. I'm sure you would have figured it out, but in case you didn't, that is the train track. So you can take a screen of this, and we are going to build it from its side profile and then just extrude the entire thing and then add in those 2 circles at the end. So let's go get started. I'm going to start a 2D sketch on a plane, and I'm going to draw out the side profile. So I don't really care about the dimensions at this point. I'm just trying to draw out the profile, and I'll add the dimensions in afterwards, so it looks something like this. And I'm just trying to make sure those lines are straight. I can always straighten them afterwards, but if I just get it right on the first go, then I'm good. Okay, so that's what I got. We're going to start with the overall width of the track. It's 3.4. I'm going to press enter and zoom out. So that's 3.4, and then we're going to kind of work our way down these other dimensions. So it's 3 and then 2.65. This one, if we follow this line, has to do with the circle, so we're not going to worry about that one, or this one, or this one, or this one, but we are going to worry about these 2 as well. Okay, so we care about these 2 and these 3, I believe, or just these 2 actually, probably not this one. Not yet, at least. Okay, so dimension from here to here, according to the sheet, is 3. And then from here to here is 2.65. This to that is 0.750. And then lastly, there to there is 0.4. And if you think about it, the difference between these 2 numbers is 0.35, and the difference between these 2 numbers is also 0.35. And they're both 0.4 away from the edges. So we know we got this good. We need the height of the track as well, so let's look around, and it says here the height of the track is 1, and these indents on the bottom here go to 0.75. So we'll just kind of note those 2 and add them in. So this is 1, and then from the bottom to here is 0.75. Okay, and if both of them didn't move at the same time, make sure you put the dimension on that also. But in my case, it looks like that's fine. Okay, I'm going to finish this. So we have our cross section here, and I'm going to extrude it out the length of the track, which is 12. So extrude, change the distance to 12 inches, zoom out a little bit, and press OK. So that's looking pretty good. Now we just need those 2 circles, so I'm going to start a sketch at the top, and I'm going to draw them out. Let's start with the one that's in the shape first. So I'm going to draw a circle in the center. So I'm going to find a center point from that green dot, and I'm going to draw out a circle. That circle has a diameter of 1.5 inches. 1.5 inches. And the other information we know about it is that the center is 11 inches from this point, or it's 1 inch from this side. So we'll kind of note that, as well as it has a fillet here of a radius of 0.16, and it says times 4, which means that these 2 have a fillet of 0.16, and these fillets here are also 0.16. By writing times 4, it indicates that there's 4 spots and they don't need to dimension it. So you've got to kind of like figure out what spots they're talking about, but it usually has to do with that same feature. Okay, so let's dimension the center of this circle to the side of the track. That's going to be 1 inch. Then we are going to draw a rectangle, and we're going to cut this rectangle eventually. And this needs to be centered, and that's where these other numbers come in over here. This 1.7 and this 1.375. That's the thickness of this rectangle. So from this edge to here is that 1.375, and then from this edge to that part is the 1.7. Okay, and that's actually not the 1.7, it's 2.025, my bad. Okay, 2.025. The 1.7, it looks like then, I'm looking at this from my side screen, the 1.7 should be the center of the track, which makes sense from here to here. But you don't need to mention it because we already know this is in the center. Unless yours isn't in the center, then you do want to dimension it 1.7. But I'm not going to click it because it'll error out. Or I guess it didn't, but it could have. Okay. That's looking pretty good. It doesn't matter what the height of this is because we're going to trim that off. So I'm going to use the trim tool now. And I'm going to trim off this line, this line, this line, and that line. So it looks like that. I will put the fillet in at the end, but that's looking pretty good. Let's go to the other side now, and we're going to repeat the process with the other circle. So I'm going to draw a circle. This circle goes outside. I'm going to try to center it. And the diameter is 1.4, which makes sense because we want this to fit into the other circle. So that other circle is 1.5. It has to be an inch away because the other one was an inch away. So if we want these to match up, this will need to be an inch. And then they're not giving us a lot of information about what this rectangle is. They just tell us it's 0.3 from the center, 0.6 total. So we gotta infer a little bit of knowledge, but that's fine. I'm gonna draw in a rectangle. So I know the entire thing is 0.6. Let's dimension that. 0.6, enter. And then if it needs to be centered with the center of the circle, I'm going to dimension from the center of this, dimension from the center of the circle to the side of the part here. I'll zoom in so you can see that. And then I will do 0.3. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And now that should be enough information. But just in case, make sure that this is at that 1.7, okay? If it's not 1.7, make sure it's 1.7. Hopefully that won't mess too many of you up. Okay, now lastly we need to throw in the fillet. So let's do that. I'm going to use the fillet tool here. We already know it's 0.16, so I'm going to type 0.16. And then I'm going to click on this edge, then this edge, and you see it rounds it there, okay? So I'll demo it here again. This edge, it rounds it. I'm going to go to this other one now, this edge to this edge, it rounds it, and then this edge to this edge, it rounds it. Okay, so we've thrown in that fillet, everything else is looking good. I'm gonna close out of this, finish the sketch, and let's start with this one over here. I'm just gonna extrude it. I'm gonna make sure it's going the other way, make sure it's not cutting, so I'm gonna switch it back to extrude. And then this is going down the width of the track, which is or the depth of the track, which is 1 inch. So I'm going to say 1, press OK, that's done. Now the other side, the sketch vanishes, but remember it's hiding under the last thing we did, which is extrusion 2. So I'm going to click on the arrow next to extrusion 2. There's sketch 3. I'm going to right click on it and go to visibility. Click on that, zoom in for a second, and then we'll extrude this, select that profile, and switch it to cut. Should already be at 1 inch. Press OK, and then I will turn off sketch 3, the visibility, so it's gone. And that took a while, but there you go. There is a straight track portion. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, that concludes the train parts. Peace.